chicken marsala Chef Greg's way. Chicken is nice and juicy. Mushrooms, absolutely delicious. We're making chicken marsala. It's one of the most popular dishes that I've always sold in all my restaurants. And today I'm going to show you how to make it. We got fresh chicken, never frozen. So important to get fresh chicken because it's tender and it's juicy. We season it with a little salt, fresh ground pepper. I always use kosher salt or sea salt. And then when we dredge this in flour, we make sure that this is shaken off because we don't want that flour to burn in our pan later on down the road. We don't want any extra flour on these, so make sure they're dredged and then they're lightly tapped off. A little bit of butter. Chicken marsala or veal marsala, we use sweet marsala, not dry. And basically what we want to do is we just want to get a little bit of color on these chicken breasts, and we're going to finish cooking them. Then we're going to finish them with the shallots, garlic, and marsala, and the demi-glace, and then we're going to let them reduce and poach and finish the rest of the way, and then we're going to finish our sauce. We always have cold butter available for that. So I'll grab myself a pound here. It's demi-glace. I reduce veal stock and I use a bone broth, veal bones, vegetables, carrots, onions, celery. It's a 3-day process to make this. I make the stock and then I reduce the stock and then I add Espanol sauce and I reduce it again by half. So it's a very involved process. Okay, as you can see here, got the white color going. I'm going to get this oil out of my pan and all that flour that wants to burn. Now these pans are dry. Going to add a little bit of shallots. We're going to add a little bit of fresh chopped garlic. I just chopped this too. We're going to add a little bit of our sweet marsala. I've sliced up shiitake, portobellos, and oyster mushrooms. We get that into our pan as well. And then we'll add a little bit more marsala. So about a total of about 4 ounces to 5 ounces of marsala. And then we're going to add our demi. We're going to add a touch of salt. A touch of black pepper. And I like to add a little bit of extra sweetness, so about a half a tablespoon of brown sugar. We want to make sure that these mushrooms aren't sitting on top of the chicken and that they're actually in this sauce cooking. So get those mushrooms off the top of that chicken. And this is where we're poaching now. We're poaching this chicken to finish it the rest of the way. You know, we'll turn it once in a while. Those mushrooms are going to take a while to cook. What I used to do in the restaurant was I would make this sauce ahead of time with all the ingredients that I just used. And then I would cook the meat to order in the restaurant. And I would put the base sauce in one of these and I would add the butter at the end. But I didn't have to wait 7 to 8, 9 minutes for this to reduce. I did all that ahead of time so I could keep dinner service rolling. So you can make this sauce ahead of time without the chicken, and you can use it on other items like pasta, rice. I want to make sure we have a medium heat here because we don't want this to reduce faster than the chicken is cooking. But with this fresh chicken, it shouldn't take more than 5-6 minutes. Our mushrooms are starting now to get nice and tender, cooked. Yeah, we're probably about 3 minutes away from the chicken being done. This is such a good dish. It's always been very popular in my restaurants, the veal marsala particularly. I've used veal loins. I never used the round. I like all the veal to be tender and not snappy. So I used veal short loins. I took the tenderloin out, I took the loin out, I silver skin and fat off, and then I pound it very thin. I do a quick saute in here. I'd add my Marsala base sauce, finish it with butter, out the door. I'm showing you how to do it right from beginning to finish without the shortcut. No, chicken is still a little bit raw. So we're going to continue to let that go. We want most of the sauce to get cooked away. So when we add the butter, we have a nice thick sauce. I used to serve this Marsala over Alfredo pasta. It was so rich, but people loved it. And you can see our chicken is nicely seasoned. You can still see that we're about medium rare. Our sauce is reducing nicely, but not too quickly. Now you can see the oyster mushrooms in here. They got shiitakes and the portobellos. I like to use 3 different types of mushrooms because you got different textures. You know, the oyster is a different texture than the portobello, and then you've got the chewiness of the shiitake, so it gives you some variety of texture. You know, we eat with texture. As you can see, we're getting really close here. Now, what's nice about these restaurant tongs, they're fairly sharp. And the way that I've always checked my chicken is I'll stick the tongs in there like this. Break it open. We're just barely a little raw yet. So we're going to have another, we'll call it about a minute, and we'll be ready. Now, as you can see, our sauce now is starting to get to that syrupy point. That's when we come with our unsalted butter. I'm sticking about 3 ounces in there of cold unsalted butter. And it's kind of like the beurre blanc that we've made in the past. You want to keep this moving now because we don't want the sauce to break. And it'll lighten up the sauce from being so dark. Anyway, we have the chicken in here. It's continuing to cook. We got some nice color there. I'm going to check this chicken breast. And that's perfectly done. Still juicy. We set our chicken on our Medusa plate. Okay, as you can see, Zach, when the butter is halfway melted, we pull it off the heat or we turn it off. Just like the beurre blanc, because if we go any longer, we'll break the sauce. We swirl it until that butter's melted. A little bit of sweetness, but mostly savory. You always try to spoon your sauces over your food. That's how they taught us in chef school. If you pour it from a saute pan, you're more of a ham and egg or hasher. Now, I like to put on this a little bit of my fresh herbs just to give it a little contrast. Let's take a look at this. Chicken is nice and juicy. mushrooms, absolutely delicious. It's easy to make. You follow the steps. Don't separate the butter. Use a good demi-glace. And use a variety of mushrooms. You can use whatever mushroom you want, but mix it up a little bit. Make sure to season the chicken with salt and pepper. Make sure to shake off the flour well. And make sure to get fresh chicken breast. So much more tender and juicy. This is Chicken Marsala, Chef Greg's way. Worth a try.